attention so we can go smoothly. So, remember, when we used models to add, subtract, or multiply, what place did we start with when we used our base 10 blocks? Which blocks did we always start with? What place did we always start with? Smith?
The ones place.
The ones place. Now, with division. What is going on? Okay, there we go. With division, you're going to have to remove that thinking from your brain. Because with division, we don't start with the ones place. We end with the ones place. So, keep that in mind as we go. We are not going to start with the ones place when we divide with, we're not going to start with the ones place in a dividend when we divide. And I'll show you what that means as we do our equations. As we do our modeling. Okay, so everybody, remember, hands-on lessons have a little bit of a different setup. The build it is example 1. The try it is example 2. The talk about it is the guided practice. And then the practice it and apply it are both the independent practice. Remember, are we doing the homework from the book anymore? No. Please do not hand in the homework from the book unless you just did, excuse me, the 2 or 3 problems that are different. So Carla, make sure when you do your math homework, you're doing the one I send, not the one from the book, okay? Okay, so everybody, finger on the build it. Finger or pencil on the build it. Let's dive right in. Our question says, or our problem is, find 39 divided by 3. Well, step 1 in modeling division with base 10 blocks is exactly the same as step 1 when we model addition, subtraction, or multiplication with base 10 blocks. We start by drawing the model. In this case, we start with the dividend. So we need to model the dividend. Our dividend is 39. How do we model 39? With base 10 blocks. Victoria. Loudly.
We draw three base 10 blocks.
They're all base 10 blocks.
We draw 3 10 rods.
3 10 rods. So let's do it right here because down here, we're going to do something different. So let's just go ahead and model 39. So we start with 3 10 rods. Remember, make sure that your 10 rods are long and skinny, but not too long and skinny to where it takes up the whole page. Okay, and then how do we finish it? That models what number? Right now we have what number modeled? 30, but we want to model 39. So how do we show the 9?
And we draw 9
9 ones cubes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Remember, when we're drawing base 10 blocks, we need to be very careful and neat. Otherwise, they get all mixed up and things go crazy. But the nice thing about modeling with division is that instead of taking these and trying to make our groups here, we're actually going to make our groups first. We're going to put these into groups. We're going to draw our groups first is what I'm trying to say. Instead of trying to make circles and all that here, we get to actually draw our groups first. So, let's look at step 2. Step 2 says divide the tens. So instead of dividing the ones first, we're going to divide the tens. It says the divisor is 3, so we're dividing the tens into 3 equal groups. So now we're going to model the division. We modeled the dividend, now let's model the division. Our divisor is 3, which means we're going to have 3 groups. 1, 2, 3. Go ahead and do that. And then I will move on to dividing the tens. So after we model our dividend, we're going to model the groups. The divisor shows the number of groups. We could put 3 items in each group and then count the groups, but it's a lot easier to draw the groups and then figure out how many go in. Okay, has everybody drawn their 3 groups in our blank space? Okay, now we're going to divide the tens. So what we're going to do is we're going to take each 10 rod and we're going to put them one at a time in our groups. So I'm going to start with our first 10 rod, and then I'm going to put a line through it so I know I've already used it. Then I'm going to take our next 10 rod, and I'm going to put it in the next group, draw a line through it so I know I used it. Then I'm going to take my next 10 rod, put it in a group, draw a line through it. So notice I only put one 10 rod in each group at a time. I didn't say, okay, 1, 2, 3, okay, I'm ready for the next step. I only put it in one at a time. If I had enough actual 10 rods, I would literally move them from here to here, but I don't have enough. Not enough with magnets on them, okay? So that's why I'm crossing it out to show I've already used it. I could erase it, but I want to see where you guys cross it out, okay? Instead of erasing it as you use it. Also, sometimes you guys aren't so neat when you erase and you accidentally erase more than what you're supposed to. So again, make sure you're being very neat. Okay, do we have any more tens? Do we have any tens left over? No, so we don't have to go around again. So how many tens are in each group? We took our 3 tens from 39 and we put 1 in each group until we had none left. How many tens are in each group? Kingston. There's 3 tens in each of these groups? There's 3 groups. How many tens are in each group? Look at your paper. How many 10 rods do you have in each group? That's how many there are in all. How many are in each group? Remember, Kingston, each circle is one group. So look at your groups. How many 10 rods are in each group? That means look at one group. How many 10 rods are in it? 1. Now we know that 1 is the answer because we could divide them evenly. We had 3 10 rods. We had 3 groups. 3 is a multiple of 3. So that means they fit evenly. If they don't fit evenly, we have to do something else, which we'll look at later. Now, step 3 is divide the ones. So I'm going to divide the ones into 3 equal groups. So I'm going to look at my ones cubes, and I'm going to do the same thing. One at a time, I'm going to put a ones cube in each group and cross it out as I use it. So I'm going to take my first one, 1, 2, 3. Now I have 1 in each group. But I have more ones cubes, right? So I'm going to go around again. I'm going to make sure I can do it evenly. Do I have at least 3 ones left? Class, do I have at least 3 ones left? Yeah. So I can definitely go around at least one more time. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? I can't stop. I still have some left, but I need to see. Do I have at least 1, 2, 3 ones cubes left? Class?
Yeah.
Yes. So I can go around at least one more time. 7, 8, and 9. Do I have any ones cubes left? No. Now sometimes my ones won't fit evenly, and we'll see what happens later. But this time they did. So do I have anything left over up here? No, I used them all. I know I used them all because I was very neat about crossing them out. If you want, maybe you could shade them as you go instead of crossing them out. If you think you can be a little neater by just shading the blocks as you use them, that's fine too. So now I need to count how many ones are in each group. How many ones are in each group? That means you look at one group and you count how many ones there are. There have to be the same amount in each group. That is another thing that is very important to remember. There must be exactly the same amount of ones and tens in each group. Zari, how many ones are in each group?
3.
3. So, somebody, I'm going to pick a stick. That person is going to read this sentence right here. There are blank 10 and blank 1s in each group, but they're going to fill in the blanks. Zadie.
There are one 10 and 3 ones in each group.
Good. There are 1 10 and 3 1s in each group. So that means we have how many in each group? We have 1 10 and 3 1s in each group. We have how many in each group? Smith?
13.
13, which means 39 divided by 3 equals 110, 3 1s. That means 39 divided by 3 equals 13. There is 1 10 and 3 1s in each group. So that means there are 13 in each group, which means 39 divided by 3 is 13. Please read the last sentence so the quotient is blank and fill in the blanks. Zari.
So the quotient is 13.
Very good. Okay, we may see problems like this in today's lesson, so let me show you what it looks like. It's not anything new, it's just set up a different way. Go ahead and rewrite this problem big right here. 3, 39 inside a bracket, 13 on top with the 1s and 10s lined up. So we have 39 inside the bracket, that's what this is called. We have 3 on the left of the bracket, on the short side. And then we have 13 on top of the bracket with the 1s and the 10s place lined up. You see how the 3 and the 9 are both in the 1s place, so they're in a column. The 1 and the 3 are both in the 10s place, so they're in a column. It is very important to line them up on top of the problem. Okay, now we're going to label. In this case, the number inside the bracket, 39, is the dividend. The dividend is the number inside the bracket, so it's the largest number. The divisor is the number outside the bracket. If you need me to spell these words because you can't see them, please raise your hand and I will spell them for you. Anybody need me to spell dividend? Okay, dividend is spelled D-I-V-I-D-E-N-D. Dividend. D-I-V-I-D-E-N-D. Divisor, I'll just go ahead and spell it. Divisor is spelled D-I-V-I-S-O-R. Divisor. D-I-V-I-S-O-R. Which leaves what piece left that's on top? Michaela. The quotient. Q-U-O-T-I-E-N-T. So if you see a problem set up like this, the largest number inside the bracket is the dividend. D-I-V-I-D-E-N-D. The number to the left of the bracket on the short side is the divisor. D-I-V-I-S-O-R. The number on top of the bracket, where the places are lined up with the dividend, is the quotient. Q-U-O-T-I-E-N-T. Yes, Victoria.
You know how to spell quotient because there's the
Yes,
Sorry.
correct. But that is something that you need to know how to spell. But it follows all the vocabulary, all the phonics rules. Q-U sounds like qu. The O is just a long O. Usually if you see T-I-E-N in the middle of a word, it sounds like shin. And then of course the T at the end, t. Quotient. Okay. Any questions about how it's set up? Sometimes we have an extra part when we see this. We'll see what that is in the next problem. Everybody feel good about this so far? Anybody need me to do one more example like this? Okay. Let's move on to the try it, example 2, and we'll look at what happens if our dividend does not fit evenly into our groups. Now, underneath the try it is a very important sentence. Smith, please read the sentence under the words try it. Everybody read along while she reads out loud.
Some numbers do not divide evenly. The amount left over is called the remainder. Use the capital letter R to denote the remainder.
Denote means to show or to indicate. So, those first two sentences. Some numbers do not divide evenly. The amount left over is called the remainder. In real life, you may have 46 treats, goodies for your birthday party, but you only have 9 people coming to your birthday party. And you need to figure out, okay, I have 46 treats and 9 people coming. So that means they each need to get the same amount of treats, but is 46 a multiple of 9? Can you multiply anything by 9 to get 46? No, which means you're going to have some left over, because is it fair to give one person to put an extra treat in one person's bag and then the other 8 only get less? Is that fair? No. So sometimes in life and in math, the number of items do not fit evenly into the group. So we're going to see what happens here. We're finding 68 divided by 5 using base 10 blocks. So step 1 is model the dividend without looking at the book. How do we model our dividend 68? Mason, how do we model it with base 10 blocks?
6 tens and 8 ones.
6 10 rods. So everybody draw it with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So this models what number, Mason?
The tens.
What number does this model? What number does this show?
6.
This shows we have 6 10 rods, which is equal to what?
6.
Not 6.
6 tens.
6 10s, which is what number?
60.
Not 68. Cullen, can you help him out?
60.
60. So we have 6 10s, which is the same as 6 times 10, which equals what, Mason? 60. Because we imagine there are 10 ones cubes in each of these 10 rods. Okay, so we have 60. Now we need to model 8. How do we model 8?
Put 8 ones cubed.
8 ones cubes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Remember to make them neat. And I've decided we're not going to cross them out. We're going to shade. As we use them, we're going to shade. That makes sure that you don't accidentally cross out more than what you need. Now, you don't have to shade them perfectly, but shade them enough so that you can easily tell, okay, I've already used that. Okay, so now we've shown our, I don't like how they don't give you enough room here. They did in the old book. Whatever. I don't understand why they want to do that. So we've modeled our dividend. Now we need to model our divisor. Remember, our divisor shows the number of groups. So our divisor is 5. How many groups will we have? Class? Come on, guys. I said class. Our divisor is 5. That means how many groups will we have? 5. I literally just said the words. The divisor shows the number of groups we have. So when I immediately ask the question, okay, our divisor is 5. How many groups do we have? Your answer should be an immediate what? Class? 5. So find some space. I don't like, do it under, you see how step 3 is really long? Like the words are really long? Right here. Do it there. Make sure that your circles are big enough that you can fit base 10 blocks in them. I'm going to show mine here though because, well, no, we can do it. So I need 5 groups. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Try to make them in like a neat line so that you're not going all over the place, so that you can go one at a time easily. Like, don't just do little bubbles all over the place. Okay, quickly get your 5 groups. Okay, does everybody have their 5 groups drawn? Okay, so now we're going to do the same thing that we did before. We're going to start by dividing the tens. So, we're going to take each 10 and we're going to put them one at a time in our groups. After I put it in a group, I'm going to shade it. So, 1 10. I'm done with it, so I'm shading it. 2 10s. Done with it, so I'm shading it. 3 10s. Done with it, so I'm shading it. Remember, we're shading, not crossing out, because if we cross out, you guys are just not as careful as you need to be, so you end up accidentally crossing out more than you need. So we're shading. Okay? 4 10s. Done with this one, so I'm crossing out. 5 10s. Done with it, so I'm crossing out. I just put 1 10 at a time in my groups, but I still have a 10 left over. If I put this 10 in this group, will I have an equal amount of 10s in each group? Don't do this. Just watch. So if I took this 10 and I was like, well, I'll just put it in the first group. And now I'm done with the 10s. Imagine that I have shaded that. Do I have an equal number of 10s in each group? I don't, because I have 2 10s in one group and only 1 in the rest of the groups, the other 4. That cannot happen. It can't. It is not allowed. It doesn't work. If you tried to do it in a calculator on a computer, the computer or the calculator would be like, what? That's not right. Error, error. Can't do it. So what do you think you have to do with that extra 10 that's left over? Without looking at the book. Michaela. So what is that math word? That means we're taking one place and turning it into another. Kingston? Regroup. Regroup. So we have to take our leftover 10 rod and turn it into ones. So instead of shading it, I'm going to cross it out. How many ones cubes do I have in a 10 rod? How many ones cubes do I have in a 10 rod? Zari?
10.
10. So I'm taking that 10 rod and turning it into what, Zari?
10.
10 what? I'm taking the
10
one
base
10 rod.
block.
I'm taking the 1 10 rod and I'm turning it into 10, not base 10 blocks. These are all base 10 blocks. But 10 what specifically? Smith?
10 ones cubes.
10 ones cubes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now I can probably separate those a little easier. So now I regrouped the 10 that was left over into 10 ones. How many 10s are in each group? Look at our groups. How many 10s are in each group? Victoria. 1. So there's 1 10 in each group. Then I regrouped the 10 that was left over into 10 ones. How many ones do I have now? I started with 8 ones, but now I have how many ones? Zadie?
18.
18. So now there are 18 ones all together. Now step 3 is to divide the ones. So I'm going to do the same thing I did with my 10s and what I did in the first example. I'm going to take each one and put it in my groups one at a time. I'm not going to put more than one at a time in a group. So I have 18 ones. I know 18 is greater than 5. So I can go through at least once, right? So let's go one at a time, and remember we're going to shade the ones after we have used it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, I have to go around again, right? Do I have at least 5 left? Yes, so I can go around again. 6. Put it on top. 7. 8. 9. 10. Okay, I have to go around again, right? Do I have at least 5 ones left over? Do I have at least 5 ones left over? Do you see why it's important to shade? Class, show me, don't tell me. Do I have at least 5 ones left over? Yes, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, so I can go around at least one more time. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, so I went around again. Now, do I have at least 5 ones left over? Show me, don't tell me. Look at the ones that I have not shaded. Do I have at least 5 left? No. So can I go around again and each group have the same amount of ones? Do not do this, but watch what happens, okay? 1, 2, do not do this. Wait, no, what is that? 16, 17, 18. Okay, I'm done with ones. Do I have an equal amount of ones in each group? No. Can that happen in division? No, I have to have the same amount. So what that means is I don't put those extras in the groups. I just leave them as leftovers. Some numbers do not divide evenly. The amount left over is called the remainder. So that means these 3 leftovers are the what? Carla?
Remainders.
The remainder. So, let's look. I have to set this up. I have my dividend, 68, inside, excuse me, inside the bracket. I have my divisor, 5, to the left, on the short side of the bracket. Now I need to put my quotient at the top. Well, I know my quotient is how many is in each group. How many how many 10s do I have in each group? Mason? 1. So I line that up with the tens place in my dividend. I have 110. How many ones do I have in each group? Michaela? 3. So I line that up with the ones place of my dividend. I had leftovers. We know that's called the remainder. How many ones did I have left over? Zari?
3.
3. So my remainder is 3. So how we would say that is the quotient is 13, remainder 3. We cannot leave off the remainder. Does everybody understand? We cannot leave off the remainder. It is there. It exists. We can't pretend it doesn't exist. Otherwise, we only have 13 cubes. Did we have only 13 cubes? No. We had 13 in each group and then 3 left over. We can't forget about these 3, otherwise we're just thinking of 65 divided by 5. But we're doing 68 divided by 5, which means our answer, our quotient is 13, remainder 3. So, read this very last sentence at the bottom. So, 68 divided by 5 equals blank, remainder blank. But fill in the blanks. Cullen.
So 68 divided by 5 equals 13. Remainder 3.
Good. Remember, remainder means the same thing as leftover. So when it's asking for the remainder, it's asking, okay, what's left over? Okay, let's do the talk about it, and then we're going to do 1 or 2 of the independent practice together. Okay. Everybody feel good about this so far and ready to move on to the next one? It's just about being careful and being neat. It's not stressful if you just think about it. The dividend is the number of items, total. The divisor is the number of groups. The quotient is how many is in one group. The remainder is how many is left over. Can we have a different amount in the groups? Can we have a different amount in this group than this group? Or this group? Or this group? Or this group? No, we can't. Because of that, sometimes we have to regroup, like we did with this 10. Or we may have a remainder like we would with the ones. In the 4th grade, you will never have a remainder that is more than 10. Okay? Because if you have a remainder that is more than 10, that means you did not regroup in the tens place. You didn't change that 10 into ones. Do you understand? You will also never, ever, ever in a million years, ever, no matter what grade, no matter what math you're doing, you will never have a remainder that is greater than the divisor. If your remainder is greater than the divisor, that means you could have gone around again. Greater than or equal to the divisor. That means you could have gone around again in your groups. Because if my remainder was 8, that means I could have put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them in my groups and then had 6, 7, 8, 3 left over. So your remainder should never, ever, ever in a million years be greater than your divisor. And in the 4th grade, it will never be greater than 10. Does everybody understand that? Okay, we'll keep practicing with that. But let's go ahead and keep practicing with modeling. Okay, so the talk about it says, explain what it means to have a remainder when dividing. Now there are several parts needed to have a very good answer. Who thinks that they have a very good, complete answer to that question? What does it mean? Explain what it means to have a remainder when dividing. So you're answering the question, what does it mean if you have a remainder when you divide? Zari, thank you for volunteering. Thank you for thinking and volunteering. The answer is right here. This is not usually the case, but it is there. Sorry, what does it mean?
The rest of the number leftovers is basically the remainder, and when it's basically not divided evenly and there's an amount left over.
Very good. So I'm going to take, you had everything. You said something about leftovers and you said something about how it can't be divided evenly, which is exactly what we're looking for. Not all numbers can be divided evenly, like example 1. In example 1, the build it, we had 39, we put it into 3 groups, we had nothing left over. It was able to be divided evenly, but not all numbers can be divided evenly. The amount left over, like in example 2, the try it, is called the remainder. So 39 we were able to put evenly into 3 groups. There were 13 in each group, none left over. But 68 could not be divided evenly into 5 groups. There were still 13 in each group, but then we had those 3 ones left over. That's the remainder. Remember, when we're writing our quotient, how do we show what the remainder is? What symbol do we use to show the remainder? Smith.
A capital R.
A capital R. Make sure it is capital. A capital R. Not lowercase, not cursive, a capital print R. Although a capital cursive R doesn't look much different from a regular manuscript R. But we just do it print. A capital R in print. So this is the one time you don't have to use cursive when you're writing an R for remainder. We don't write out the whole word, remainder. We don't just put the quotient and then put the remainder right next to it with no letter, like 13, 3, because I may think you mean 133. We show the quotient, the amount that fits in evenly, 13, capital R, 3. Now, this is just something, it's not something you really have to worry about this year, but I remember thinking this when I was young, when I was first learning division, and then thinking, oh look, I'm going to be so smart and I'm going to do this. This is not the same thing. That is not the same thing. You don't have to worry about it this year, but just don't think it's the same thing. It is not. It is 13, remainder 3. Okay, everybody ready? We're going to do a couple of the independent practice together. Is everybody ready? Okay. So we're going to do number 2 and number 5 together. Number 2, the directions say, write the division sentence shown by each model. So number 2, we already have our model drawn. We already have our groups. We already know everything we need. Now we just have to put it into a division sentence. So remember, let's start with the quotient. We know the quotient is going to be the number of items in each group. How many items are in each group? When I ask the question, everybody listen. When I ask the question, how many items are in each group? You're going to look at one group, tell me how many items are in that group. Because remember, the word each means the same thing as one. So if I say, how many items are in each group, I'm saying the same thing as how many items are in one group. Each just means there's more than one, each of them is the same. So if I ask the question, how many items are in each group, you're going to look at one group and tell me how many items are in it. So, look at number 2. How many items are in each group, Victoria?
There are, in each group there is 1 10 rod and 5 ones,
So there's 1 10 rod and 5 ones cubes, which is what number?
which is
15. So remember, the items in each group in this lesson is the quotient. So that means if there are 15 items in each group, what is our quotient, Victoria? 15. The quotient is the number of items in each group. Let's go ahead and label this so that when you're doing it on your own, you know exactly what it is. Items in each group. So the quotient in this lesson is the items in each group. The divisor is the number of groups. How many groups do we have in this model? That's me, but I don't help with math. Michaela, how many groups do we have in this model? 3. 1, 2, 3. So our divisor is the number of groups. We have 3 groups, so what is our divisor, Michaela? 3. So remember, let's label it. In this lesson, the divisor is the number of groups. The quotient is the items in each group. Victoria told us there was 1 10 rod, 5 ones cubes. That means there's 15 in each group. The divisor is the number of groups. Michaela told us there were 1, 2, 3 groups. So that means our divisor is 3. The dividend is the total number of items in all together. The total number of items, not the number of items in each group. We're looking at the items in all the groups and putting them together. How many items are in each group? I'm sorry, how many items are there all together? Ethan. Now this is a tough one because how many ones do we have? Count the ones in the whole problem. Use your book, you can see it. How many ones are there in all? How many ones cubes? I can't hear you. In all, not in one group, but in all. 15. Can we put 15 in the ones place? Can we put 15 in the ones place? No. So that means we have to regroup again. We have to think, okay, there are 5 ones and 1 10. That's how many are in 15, right? There are 15 ones cubes. That means 1 10, 5 ones. But now how many 10s do we have? Ethan, how many 10 rods do we have in our model? 3. Is that how we write that? What number is this? I'm trying to say that I have 15 ones and 3 10s. But what did I say? I said in all I had how many, Cullen?
350.
315. Is that true? No. So what I have to do is I have to take those 10s and just put them together. 3 10s and 1 10 is how many 10s, Ethan? 3 10s plus 1 more 10 is how many 10s? 4. So how many items do I have in all, Ethan? 45. So make sure if you're doing that, like when you get here, Make sure that if you end up with more than 10 ones cubes, you give one of those 10s, you keep the ones and give the 10 to the tens place. Okay? I'm going to let you do number 3 on your own, but let's go to number 5 because we're going to draw a model together. Number 5, we have 48 divided by 3. Kingston, what do I have to do first? First, I have to, it's the same thing I've done first. I have to draw the model. For what? The dividend or the divisor? The dividend. So I need to model 48. Now I'm going to model it small and to the side so I have it to shade when I know I've used it. How do I model 48?
4 times rods and 8 ones cubed.
4 10 rods. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm doing it small so that I still have lots of room for my groups, okay? I'm doing it small and lining it up with the equation so that I still have lots of room for my groups because I have to do 2 separate little models, I guess. So 4 10 rods and 8 ones cubes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Thank you, Kingston, for helping us with step 1. To start step 2, I have to do what with my divisor? Carla, where are you? I called your stick, but you're not there. Okay, Aaron. To start step 2, I have to do what with my divisor? My divisor tells me what? Come on, Aaron. There are several places where you can look, including number 2, which I forgot to label this. Remember, for number 2, the dividend is the total items. Aaron, my divisor tells me I need what? Aaron, there is literally a place right above this that you can look to see what the divisor tells you if you follow directions. Look at number 2. We labeled each part. The divisor tells us the number of what? Nope, that is not what the divisor tells us. Who can help her out? Cullen.
Each group.
The groups. Aaron, look. The divisor tells us the number of groups. It says it right here. The divisor is the second part. This is why vocabulary is so important. This is not the dividend. This is the dividend. This is the divisor. This is the quotient. So, Aaron, our divisor tells us what? How many groups we need. Our divisor is 3. How many groups do we need to draw? 3. So we use large circles to show our groups. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Now we need to start dividing. Victoria, division is the opposite of addition, subtraction, and multiplication. Because in those 3 operations, we start in the ones place. But in division, we start where?
And
the greatest place value. Very good. The greatest place value, which in this case is what place? The tens. So in division, I do the opposite. Instead of starting in the ones place, I start in the greatest place value. In this case, it's the tens. So how many tens do I put in a group at a time, Victoria? 1. So let's start. 1 10 rod. Cross it out because I'm done with it. Shading it. Yes, I'm shading it so I know I'm done with it. 2 10 rods. Shade it because I know I'm done with it. 3 10 rods. Shade it because I know I'm done with it. I have one left over, but I don't have enough to go around again. What does that mean? Can I put this one, this 10 rod, this last 10 rod in a group?
That means we need
Hold on. Answer my question, please. Can I put this last 10 rod in a group? No, because then I'd have an unequal amount of 10s in each group. Can I do that in division? No, I can't. So what do I need to do with this 10? Does it just get left over and put into our remainder?
no.
No. We have to do what? We're going to regroup it so that one 10 rod becomes what? 10 ones cubes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good. Do not forget to regroup. When you're regrouping, a lot of you I know are going to know the steps, but you're going to be real fast and lazy when it comes to drawing, which means you're going to get wrong answers even if you know the exact steps. So you need to slow down and make sure that you are doing it neatly and correctly. Mason, we just finished dividing the 10s. What's the next step in division? We have to divide what? The ones. We used to have 8 ones, but we don't have 8 ones anymore, do we? How many ones do we have now? 18. How many ones do I put in each group at a time? 1. So I have to go one at a time until all of those ones cubes are gone, or there are less than 3 left. So, let's start. We know we have more than 3, right? So we can definitely go around at least once. So, let's go around. Let's count them as we go. 1, and done. 2, done. 3, done. I went around once. Mason, do I have at least 3 ones left? Yeah, so I can definitely go again. 4, 5, and see how I'm being sure that I cross it out as I go so I don't end up using too many ones. 6. I went around again. Do I have at least 3 left? Yeah, so I can go around again. 7, 8, 9. Do I have at least 3 left? So I can go around again. 10, 11, 12. Do I have at least 3 left, Mason?
Yes.
So I can go around again. 13, 14, 15. Do I have at least 3 left, Mason?
Yes.
Yes, always check. When you get down to like small amounts like this, always check to make sure that you actually do, okay? But we can see 1, 2, 3. We have 3, so we can definitely go around again. 6. Wait, no. What was it? 16. 17. And 18. Do we have any left at all? No. So we can't go around again. Don't do this, class. But what if I had 2 left? Mason, would that be at least 3? Don't do that, but would that be at least 3? No, so I couldn't go around again. So if I had these 2 left over, that would be my what? Remainder. But that would be 40, that would be 50 divided by 3. But I have 48 divided by 3. So do I have any left over?
No.
Which means I have no what? Remainder. Okay. So I'm done dividing, right? Now I just need to figure out, okay, what's my quotient? So I need to figure out how many are in each group. When I'm figuring out how many are in each group, I'm counting the number of items in how many groups? Michaela? In each, which means how many groups am I looking at? 1, because each is a synonym for 1. So I'm going to count the number of items in one group. Cullen, please fill in the first part of this sentence. Fill in the blank.
Okay. There is 3 10s.
Are you looking? And remember, How many are in each group means the same thing as how many are in one group.
There are 110.
Not there are, there.
There is 110.
There is 110. We have 110 in the first group. We have 110 in the second group. We have 110 in the third group. Okay? Finish the sentence.
And 6 ones in each group.
And 6 ones in each group. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the first group. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the second group. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the third group. So we have an equal amount of 10s and an equal amount of 1s in each group. Which means if there's 110 and 6 ones in each group, Cullen, 48 divided by 3 is
16.
16. 110, 6 ones. We know 110 and 6 ones together is 16. Okay, we'll do a little more on that tomorrow. We'll do maybe number 3 and 4 tomorrow. And then we'll keep going. Remember, if there were leftovers, we would say 16, capital R for remainder, and however many were left over. Can my remainder be greater than 10? Ever? Can my remainder be greater than 10 in 4th grade math? No. Can my remainder ever, no matter what math I'm doing, ever be greater than the divisor, I'm sorry. No. Definitely not greater than the dividend. But it can't be greater than the divisor. Can't be greater than the dividend because can I ever end up with more left over than what I started with? No. If I have 8 pieces of pie and then people eat some and then I'm counting the leftover pieces, would there ever be more than 8 pieces left over when I only started with 8? No. Okay, so we will do more on that tomorrow. We'll finish the lesson out.